because she's kind of a local legend, and I honestly have no idea how she does what she does. It's mystifying and incredible to me. So I have to hear in her own words how she does all of this. I have to know. So Emily Holmes is an event organizer here in the Ocala area. She does a whole lot. I'll let her kind of introduce herself for you so that it's done correctly. Emily, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'll start at the beginning because I think I'll also encompass a couple of questions that I saw on the Facebook page if I start at the beginning, like how I got into it. So in high school, I was in Maine. I grew up in Maine, and we would run little like combined training stuff and little schooling shows and stuff like that. Debbie Place at Peppergrass Farm and Kim Smith and like that whole crowd around the, Newburgh area. And so I kind of got a taste of doing it there on like obviously a very local and small scale. And then I ended up going to college at the University of New Hampshire and graduating with my bachelor's. I did the whole thing where I thought I wanted to be a vet. So I started with pre-vet, realized I was real bad at math, and immediately changed into the equine program. Graduated there. And then over that summer, I actually interned at UNH for their competition management internship. And so spent the summer helping with their horse trials. They have one in the spring and then the fall. And organizing dressage shows and combined trainings and schoolings and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So that's kind of where I started with software and like the actual organizing part of competitions. And I loved it. I love chaos. That's pretty much, that's kind of, I guess I can sum it up there. I moved to Florida 10 years ago this year, 2013, and actually started volunteering at the Florida Horse Park for the pop shows. And then I remember one time Jeannie Clark asked me and Tegan Henderson to run a show because she was gone. And so it kind of took off from there. I started helping with the schooling shows with Jen Halling and Simone Cormier. And then I got hired at the horse park. And then while I was at the horse park, got obviously a huge taste of everything that's run at the horse park. And being the event coordinator there was the most educational experience of my life. I learned so many different things. I learned so many different disciplines and how to run different shows and like deal with different people and how to deal with all people. It was great. Working at the horse park was great. And then I ended up moving into the director of events role and got to help plan and oversee the building of the barns that we now use for all of our events, the South Barns. When I had started, they had just finished completion of the covered arena and the North Barns. So I was able to be there while we designed and built and located the fiber arenas and took down the tent stalls and all of that stuff. And while I was there, Richard Trayford was actually organizing Equiventures. He had taken it over from Peter Gray and John Halling, and Jen was the secretary for their shows as well. And so obviously eventing's like my sport. Can you stop? So I was, I worked 7 days a week at the horse park for months at a time. But during the events, obviously, like they're my people. And so I'm there, a lot. And then it started to go in the direction that, Richard wanted to sell Equiventures. He wanted to get out of it. And with me working at the horse park, it actually worked out perfectly. So we were actually able to bring all of those shows in-house. And I got to help facilitate all of that as well. And that was also very educational. I could not have done it without Sheila Costello, who's no longer at USEF. I don't know what I would do now, but she was a lifesaver for me. And Sharon Gallagher as well with USEA. It was very, very educational. I apologize for my dogs. I cannot stop. Stop it. There's a bird.
I
Go ahead.
It's one of those things where like I was thinking normally like the first question I ask people is like, tell me kind of like what your day looks like. And when I was thinking about this with you, I was like, I don't even, number one, I'm not sure I want to know. Number two, like it's got to be 7 days a week of craziness, right? I mean,
it depends on the show. So like for me, every day is different. So right now, for work, I'm vet teching with a friend of mine and I love it. So those days are usually crazy. So I'm usually up early. I do the horses that I have here. I go to work, I come home, and I usually get on my computer and do, because for the shows, I handle all of the licensing and the hiring of officials and the contracts with officials and their invoices and just like the prize list, because you have to have a USEF prize list and you have to have the Omni listing for USEA and all of this stuff. And so leading up to the horse shows, like I'm very, very, very lucky that the team that I have at the horse park is incredible. And we've all done this for years at this point. And so we joke all the time that we're a bit of a well-oiled machine. And I think that that comes across too to the competitors. Like, you know, we finish rings on time and, you know, things seem to sort of flow. And that's because of all of the people that we have behind the scenes. And so like horse show mornings, I really try and stay in an RV on grounds. If I can. If I can't, I'm usually leaving my house at 5:15. I hire barn help when I'm gone because there's no way I could. I've done it before and it's horrible. But I'm usually leaving my house at 5, get to the horse park. Sometimes I stop and get Dunkin' Donuts on the way for all the people and myself, donuts and stuff. And then I usually try and help in the office if I need help. If it's during season and Rick's there, he doesn't want my help. And if it's during off season and Tracy's there, she also doesn't want my help. So I'm kind of like, sometimes in the morning, I'm just sitting there like twiddling my thumbs, nervous energy, right? But, you know, making sure that all the volunteers are going to show up, that all of my coordinators are in place and have everything that they need, that they have their whiteboards and their markers and their radios, and the scribes have all the right tests and their judges boxes that have snacks and paper towels and the right sound and all that. And then, you know, just getting each phase up and going for the day can be really, really stressful. But then usually like once the day is rolling at the show, like it's not too bad. It's just putting out little fires here and there. And we usually wrap up 5:36, and then we usually hang around and drink beer and eat cheese and crackers until we all go home around 7:30. So depends on the day, really.
I mean, what people probably, if you haven't been to a show at the Florida Horse Park during season, it's like nothing I've seen. I mean, we're talking like 650 horses. And there's like 7 dressage rings or so. Like, I mean, it's like 5. I don't know what is going on. 5, what? It's a lot. There's a lot, and then show jumping, and there's cross country, and there's just warm up, and it's overwhelming almost just as a competitor. I can't even imagine trying to coordinate all of that to organize it all. Like it's incredible, but you're right. Like it is like a well-oiled machine. It seems like it should be chaos, and it never is. So it's crazy.
Sometimes it feels like when there's like 12 loose horses at once running through parking. That's chaotic.
That's definitely never been mine. Definitely not.
Knock on wood.
I will say that if there are Thursday one-day divisions, I'm like, yes, that's for me.
I love those because those also make my life so much easier, because getting each phase started every year when we haven't been like working together as a team since October, we have a few months off. We're all a little bit like glitchy. And so being able to run the one day on Thursday, like all of my phase managers already have all of their stuff in place for like the 150 horses that we run, so that when we wake up and like really start on Friday, like everybody's already ready to go. We've already done it once for a handful of horses and like it's done. Yeah. And so I love those divisions. I love Thursday one days. It's great.
I love it because I don't like having to drive twice and like get dressed twice. I'm just lazy. That's what it is. And
I
I'm
understand.
avoiding like the big crowd of people because Thursday is like much more chill. It's just like a few rings.
The Thursdays are great. We're adding beginner novice for next year, so we'll run prelim through beginner novice.
Oh, that'll be good. That'll be good.
Yeah. I'll be sweet.
So what's your most favorite and least favorite part of being an organizer?
I think my most favorite part boils down to like the people. I'm a people person, and I love being able to interact with the people in our sport, the volunteers, my coordinators. I love being able to catch up with people. Something that's really cool to me is also watching the people and the horses progress through the years. So this year is the first year the Florida Horse Park will ever run the 4-star. And there's a horse running in it. I might get teary-eyed. There's a horse running in it that I watched do its first pop show and its first young event horse show that I ran. And now it's running 4-star. And so like stuff like that, like is so exciting to me. I love that. And I love watching the kids. Like there's a kid I know who like a few years ago, she was horrifying at starter level. Like we thought she was going to have a rotational. She would get like a 57 in dressage. Okay. I'm not even exaggerating.
Oh, no.
She was so scary. And now she's running intermediate.
That's
and
cool.
like being pretty successful at it. And so that to me is definitely my favorite part about the horse shows is the people and the progression and stuff. My least favorite part is, I don't know, because I actually have like a few. Finding out things that went wrong after the show is over and I can do nothing to fix it, that irritates me. I hate that. I had that happen this show. Someone came up to me the Thursday after and was talking to me, and I was like, why didn't anybody say anything? I could have fixed it. Like, if you have a complaint, I can't fix it unless I know about it. So that to me is super, super irritating. That, and when people get really entitled and think that they're like, oh, well, they'll show up on Friday and be like, I need you to move my ride time. And we're like, no.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how many medals you've won. The answer is no. And I think that that's one thing, like, for my shows and for Ocala that applies. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, you're not going to get treated any differently than the next person. If you are, it's not by me. It's by someone else.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of people that are like, oh, well, you should call Emily. And they're like, no, it's okay. I'm like, you should call me. It would be a great chat. Like, yeah. So those are definitely my least favorite parts.
So your favorite part is the people, but your least favorite part is the people.
It's the people. Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. I could see that. So if anybody hasn't listened to the Steph Kaufman episode about Enneagram stuff, am I correct that you're a 2 or you're a 3?
I am. It depends on my mood, but I'm either a 2W3 or 3W2. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Steph has said before that I'm definitely like professionally, like, and I think I've talked to her about it too. Like professionally, I'm a 3, but like personally and like at home and like in my relationship with my boyfriend and stuff, I'm a 2.
Yeah.
And so I find that it's really different.
Are like the people you like people and you're helping people, and so it really fits. And then the 3 is kind of like the go-getters,
driven, motivated. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the more you talk, the more I like 100% see it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am like poster child.
Yeah, which is good because the world needs plenty of those people to run things the way that you do. I would be like, everybody go away. No.
I do get really like the Mondays after a horse show, I'm really peopled out. I am exhausted. And half the time, like Mondays after a horse show are some of my busiest days for phone calls. Like I will honestly hit 700 notifications on my phone the Monday after a horse show. And I think that like, for me, if I can like competitors, don't call me on Monday. Don't text me. Don't contact me. I love you. Wait for Tuesday. Like, I'm tired.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. Don't.
I should just put on an auto reply. If you competed this past weekend, I will talk to you later this week. Goodbye.
Yeah. That's a small request. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep going with Keegan's questions because hers were great. So,
Good
what
questions.
qualifications do you need to become a show organizer?
No actual qualifications. I mean, I would say that there's like soft skills you need to have. If you don't have it, you will develop it, and that's a thick skin. Like if there's someone that's really offended or upset or anything like that about criticism, not the job for you.
Yeah,
I
see that.
Not the job for you. And I will get upset. I do get really upset. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm pretty good about now. It's taken a while, but letting it bounce off. But in terms of like other soft skills, like you have to be some semblance of organization. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I'm the most organized person out there because I'm not. I hate paperwork. I'm bad at paperwork. I'm bad at getting it in on time. USEF, I think they hate me half the time. And if anybody from USEF is on here, I'm sorry. I'll send you a Starbucks gift card or something. Like, I apologize. And I'll keep paying my late fees because but I think also I would say that you have to be a people person, but you don't, because I know plenty of organizers that are not people. But I think too, you have to be able to think on the fly. You have to be good at crisis. You have to be good at figuring out a scenario in your head as it's happening, before it's happening, and stuff like that. And I think that for me is one thing that I'm really, really good at, is in like an emergency situation or a situation that requires really quick, decisive thinking. I'm good at that. And I think as an organizer, if you're not good at that, it's just going to make your life a lot harder.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how much planning, like hours, days, and weeks, actually goes into a show? Or does it depend on?
It depends. So like for like our summer shows, like our June shows or like the pop shows, obviously like your planning has to start the week after your show, because you have to submit your post comp and you have to renew your license and you have to make sure that your dates are, renewed and on the correct weekend. Because if they're not on the correct weekend, USEF will contact you. And so once that's done, like once the license is signed and submitted and you get, your approval and stuff, I'll usually coast for about 6 months. And I like to start contacting officials between 6 to 8 months ahead in advance, for the big shows. And then for the smaller shows, I'm less good about that. But for me to like hiring dressage judges is like up in the air, because you never actually know how many rings you're going to run until about a week and a half before the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like I can go based off like last year's numbers, or, I can, average the past couple of years and have obviously like a really good guess. But like, say like Friday at the horse park, we had to have 5 dressage judges, a show jump judge. Because we're over 300 entries, you have to have 2 TDs, or the president of the ground jury has to be out on cross country while cross country is running, blah, 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 blah. So like, that's all stuff you have to be able to plan for ahead of time. I would say the month before the show is when you really have to start getting things in motion. Again, with the horse park, I'm lucky. I can text my golf cart guy. I can text my porta potty guy. I can, text Chris Barnard about setting up show jumping courses. And, my course builder, Tommy Neneman, and designer, Jay Hambley, they know their job. They don't require my input. They just show up and do their job. And so like, if they need anything, they'll text me. But definitely it's different for the FEI. So the FEI schedule and the officials and prize money and ribbons and move-in day, vets, farrier, everything has to be done months in advance, and it has to be submitted to USEF and then to FEI, and it has to be approved by both of them. So I had to have all of my FEI stuff done, ready, signed, delivered, sealed last December.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, it really, you know, and then the week of, you know, you have to make sure your technical delegate gets what they need. They get their course maps, they get the schedule, they get an isolation plan, they get a crisis management plan, you know, all of that stuff. So it really does depend on the show. Like the FEI stuff, if I go like ghost the week after the FEI, it's because I'm exhausted. It's a lot with the FEI vets and everything like that to deal with. But then the summer show is like, 200 horses, psh, whatever. It makes it easy, which is great. Because the summer shows are really like, I love the big season shows because I love chaos. But the summer shows like where I can get to like see the riders, spend time with the riders. Like they're more chill. I can check in with everybody. And they're not nearly as stressful. So, but yeah, the planning is definitely different per show. But I can't even begin. I should track my hours. I should, but I don't really want to know.
Yeah. I don't really want to know either because I can't even, I don't even know how it's possible personally. Like when you start thinking about like every little thing from like the flowers on the jumps to like the walkie talkies, to the snacks, to the volunteers, to the,
I do all that too.
Like,
you do like, you know, there's like when I do invoices for like the big shows, I will collect between 35 and 40 invoices from people. And then in the FEI, it's about 30% more.
That's insane.
So that's all contracts and invoices. And you have to make sure you have arrival times and hotel rooms for everybody and rentals and all of that stuff.
Sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. I mean, like, I have nothing but respect for you and everyone that does it because just thinking about it is so daunting to me that I'm like immediately overwhelmed. I can't.
It has to be, it really like, I have a checklist. I'm a list person. And so it has to be done in bite-sized pieces. But then the week of the show, it's like, you're in it, you're swimming for your life, you're answering questions as they come up, and you're trying to do this and that and this and that and this and that. And all of a sudden it's Monday morning and you're like, I have no idea how I just did that, but it's done and it was great.
Yeah, I could see that. So kind of pinging off one of those things, Libby said that, okay, so she had a good one. Staffing for eventing. Eventing is more affordable because we utilize a lot of volunteers, but has it gotten easier or harder to find them over the past few years?
Harder. Actually, I think it's been about the same. I'm just less salty about guilting people into it. And I think that's like, I will call people out. Like, if you're a competitor and you've competed in my shows, you've read my emails. Like, you're not going to have a warm-up steward. Yeah. So sorry. Good luck.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that I really genuinely think in the past couple of years, it has gotten better. I've seen more competitors willing to help. I've seen more like young riders pitching in. And I think too, that that's just a generational thing. I think that for a while we had people that, I don't really know how to say this, but like they didn't have to. And I think that's the best way to say it. But now I feel like we're the generation of young riders coming in. I think they're a little bit more philanthropic. I think they're more into volunteering and helping. I've had quite a few people actually interested in event organizing, which is great because I am by far the youngest one in the country.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to get better. Especially because it really, the amount of volunteers that we use is like, I'll use between 80 and 100 volunteers during the course of like these 4-day shows. At the FEI, we'll go through 125 to 150 lunches for like Saturday on cross country day.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people. I mean, that's officials and, you know, stuff like that too. But it's a lot. And I do think that the volunteering mindset is starting to shift. And if I can keep reminding people that if you volunteer, entry fees stay down, because if you don't volunteer, I have to pay people to do it. And then entry fees go up.
Yeah.
So I'm crossing my fingers. I think it'll get better.
I mean, do you have thoughts on like how to drive more volunteer participation?
I have many thoughts on it. A lot of them are
Threatening.
welcome, though. People don't like it when I say this. But Perfect. I think that if you're on a team, you need to volunteer, even if it's for like 8 hours a year.
Yeah.
I think that sets a huge example, especially to the younger riders and the young professionals and the kids, you know, like last year we had Dom Schramm running dressage warm up, and like people wanted his autograph and pictures with him and stuff. But like, that's huge to them, right? Like, yeah. You know, to see people like that volunteering.
You had the whole, was it one of the pop shows, like the December pop show where all the volunteers were riders?
Professionals. Yeah. I had Lauren Nicholson and Hannah Supernett running dressage warm up. And they were like, what is this? And I'm like, this is a pop show.
Yeah.
These are your people. These are your volunteers. Yeah. And like but people thought it was so cool. And like Tick and Sinead were out on cross country running gators, you know, as chasers. And it was just a really big deal to these people to see, you know, the professionals out there and giving back. And it, like, December is an easy time for them to do it, right? Yeah. But it was incredible. And, you know, if I could convince a few of them to help more during the big season shows, I think it'd really get a huge shift. But I've had plenty of people pitch in, plenty of professionals pitch in. Mrs. Law has scribed a few times, stuff like that. Like Jen Halling volunteers as often as she can. It's just, you know, we've got a really good group of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you do seem to do a good job of drumming them up too, from what I've seen.
I mean, there's been pop shows where I wrote on a whiteboard and I left a clipboard and a radio, and I was like, if you're not in the ring on time, you're eliminated.
I mean, that's fair.
Wear watch. Good luck. You want to know what? It worked, which was so tempting to me. I was like, I can't believe this works. I can make it happen at the big shows. And like, we haven't gotten there yet, but like, there will be a day where I don't have anybody to run dressage warm up, and there will be a whiteboard out there.
Okay, well, I volunteer to just come spectate beginner novice dressage warm up when that happens. I'm just gonna watch.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Yeah, but entertaining, perhaps.
My phone would be entertaining. Yeah, the calls.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face as an organizer of these really big shows where you've got 5 dressage rings, show jumping, cross country? Like, what are your biggest challenges with shows like that?
Volunteers. Honestly, like finding help. Like the February show, I ran cross country warm up. I was in dressage warm up for a little bit. I don't think I was in show jumping warm up, but I was picking up poles at one point. I was chasing on a gator on cross country because we didn't have enough volunteers, so we had to make it work. The amount of job, like I've been in the start box, running the start box. But the problem with me filling in is if, like this past show, we had to call 911 twice. And so if I'm filling a volunteer job, I can't do my job, which is making sure that that's done smoothly, that the people are okay, that it's handled in a quick, efficient, safe manner. And obviously I have people that oversee that, and they're amazing. Shout out to SOS, because I will not run a horse show without them. But if I'm doing a volunteer's job, I can't do my job. Even like the week leading up, like help running to Sam's Club is just one more box I have to check, right? Like, you know, finding the people, because then I have my coordinators calling me and they're like, I don't know what to do. I only have 2 scribes. I need 4 total. And then like, I have to start calling friends. The amount of times my family has filled in, is incredible. And I'm lucky that I have the friends that I do that will often offer to pitch in if I need their help. But then a lot of times, like Katie Wentz, the Triple Crown rep, she's amazing. Like, she'll wait until like she'll keep an eye on the volunteer site, and then when she sees that we need help, she signs up. And she's a lifesaver, and she's done it for the past 2 shows, and it's incredible. But I hate that she has to keep doing that. Yeah. And she doesn't have to, right? It's a volunteer spot. She's just getting a big hug and a pat on the back and, oh my God, you're a lifesaver. But if we had more people willing to pitch in, people like that wouldn't be watching the website last minute and showing up.
Right. And I think,
thank God they do.
I think a lot of people too don't really understand that if it wasn't for the volunteers, like, this sport would be astronomically more expensive.
Oh, you can't even go to WEC in school for like less than $250, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And you can go run a 3-phase for that, you know, with cross country jumps and dressage rings and $1.5 million in arenas. And
right.
So I do get really frustrated sometimes when people complain that our entry fees are high, because then I see those same people going to WEC and I'm like,
yeah,
like, sure, WEC is bougier and all of that stuff, and it's air conditioned. Casey Holmes. Sorry, she keeps scratching on the door because she wants to go out. But yeah, I mean, entry fees are gonna, like, if I have to keep paying people, like, I'm like chucking out cash just to people. Sometimes I've paid people myself to come.
Wow.
So yeah.
I mean, it's a hot topic that everybody loves to talk about. You know, I came from the hunter jumper world, so I know how much more expensive it can be. And everybody loves to talk about, you know, this, they do eventing a lot because it's more affordable and all that, but that could very easily change too if we're not careful.
Oh yeah. No, like a comment came through. I don't know how the eventing world has figured out this volunteer model. I mean, we're based on a grassroots sport, right? Like, think about Pony Club. You have to volunteer. You have to pitch in. Your parents have to volunteer. And yeah, it's a local hunter jumper show manager, has to pay everybody. Yeah, we're heading in that direction because the people that I pay show up with a smile on their face every single horse show. And it makes everybody's, and that's the reason we run as smooth as we do, is because of those people. They know their job. They know their volunteers. It makes everybody's life easier. And if I have to start paying people and jack up entry fees to make the shows run like they are right now, I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that we should be requiring X number of volunteer hours a year, or like, how else do we?
I would love that. Because even if everybody in eventing pitched in for like 10 hours a year, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I have volunteers that will put in 40 hours during the week. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And they're retired and they can, but that's not the point. They shouldn't have to. And they love it and they do it. But on a regular basis, I have, for these big shows, I will have a volunteer put in 30, 40 hours.
That's just crazy.
I need to start adding up the volunteer hours per show, but I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I haven't done it because part of me is like, I don't know how to thank these people.
Right.
You know, I don't, like, how can you come and work the hours you do and have me just be like, oh, thanks for coming. See you next time.
Yeah.
You can't. You know, and then part of me is like, I see so many people that have never volunteered ever, and they never will volunteer. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's because of those people that entry fees are going to go up.
Right. And then those are the people that are going to complain about it the most.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. All right. I think we can leave the volunteering. I think all of us understand.
I think I've hit that one home. Yeah.
Okay. So Libby had a good one too. What are some things that are pet peeves or just things you see all the time that can slow a horse show down or create issues for you that are completely preventable?
Getting your entry stuff in, paying when you enter. I think a lot of the horse show managers are moving in the direction of people having to pay when they enter. And like, look, like, I get it. You have to pay credit card fees and stuff like that. But the amount of people that will enter and then not show up and scratch. Wow. But then, like, you don't know that. You booked out that 7 minutes in the dressage ring. You booked out that time in show jumping. You've booked out that time in cross country where it could have been filled by somebody that could actually pay their way. Right. The amount of people that, like, that was a huge issue for me. And so that's finally why I went to people having to pay when they enter, because it's rude. It's inappropriate. And it makes our day go so much faster because people can check in. And if they've submitted their entry agreements and their waivers and their cogins and all of that, they can walk up to the box, grab their packet, and leave. And that saves us legitimately hours of work.
Yeah.
Just having your entry stuff in. And if you take a picture of your entry agreement and your waiver, your USEF entry agreement and waiver, both sides, and you text that or email that to Rick Dunkerton, rdunkerton@gmail.com, they will upload it to event entries, and then you never have to worry about it. And it saves everybody hours of time. Yeah. Another thing is planning in travel time. We get this a lot. People are running late, or like, you know, I get it. Sometimes you hit traffic. Sometimes you blow a tire. Sometimes your horse won't load and stuff like that. But then we have to shuffle around our entire day to be able to fit those people in. Right. And like, sometimes I'm at the point where I'm like, no, I can't help you. And like, I feel bad, but at the same time, like, I can't ruin 300 other people's ride times for this one person, and it's not fair. Yeah. And that's definitely how I try to run my shows, is I want everything to be fair to everybody. So I think that those are probably like two that, and don't park like an idiot.
Yeah.
I was going to say a different word. Don't park like that.
Yeah.
Don't be rude. Be nice.
I would agree.
Be a good neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my, every single time before a horse show, when I'm packing, I'm like, what if I forget where I'm going and I blow a tire and my horse, for some reason that has always loaded right in the trailer, won't load. And I'm like 2 hours late. Everyone's going to hate me. I'm going to miss everything. I have like a panic attack about it.
I get it. Look, like, I haven't competed lately, but I used to event quite a bit, and I had one of those horses that wouldn't load. Like, been there. Trust me.
Yeah.
Build
extra time in.
Yeah. And, you know, and it's just like, or if you show up late to dressage, like, and then you want to be worked in the schedule later. Like, no.
No.
That means my judge doesn't get her break or his break to go pee, and they haven't peed for 2.5 hours. Like,
when they've watched like 50 boring dressage tests.
Right. Sometimes they're really not boring, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just being nice to everybody around you and being cognizant of how your actions impact other people, because it's a trickle down effect. It can really, really mess up people's days.
Yeah. I feel like, so Libby had another question that I thought was really good. What advice do you have for competitors to get the most out of their show? And I kind of have a feeling that your answer might be similar.
Same thing. Show up on time. Be thankful that you're there, because sometimes when my coordinators get like really like nervous and this and that and panicky, I'm like, hey, stop. I'm going to break it down for you. This is just a horse show. And it is. And like, obviously I love them and I make my living off of them. And a lot of my people make their living off of their horse shows. But at the end of the day, we're not curing cancer. It's just a horse show.
Yeah.
And if we're running 20 minutes late, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Right.
And so I'd say the same thing for the competitors. Like, get your stuff in, show up on time, show up early. You know, if you're a little bit bored, go shop in Vendor Village. That'd be great. They would love that.
The lemonade people, though.
Exactly. Yes. I always get a lemonade, no sugar, because I like it tart. But just, show up, be ready. And after the show, pick up your dressage test. That too.
Okay, well.
I keep them.
You didn't have to call me out like that, Emily.
I keep them. And sometimes there's many a time I will go through and see who's left their test.
It's me.
I mean, I will tell you that I've had a judge nearly brought to tears when I showed her the stack that I have after the horse trials. And she's like, I spend so much time on those. And like, they'll spend $10,000 to $15,000 just getting their license.
I know. I feel bad every time. And my problem is I always forget. Like by the time
yeah. I get it.
I always forget. And then I feel bad because, but I do forget my dressage test like minimum 30% of the time.
And you know what? A lot of people do. And like, I get it. Trust me. I forget everything. I forgot something tonight. I have to run back out and get it. Like, I am extremely forgetful. And so I would also probably leave my test all the time. And I used to leave my test all the time. So
now I feel guilted into remembering to go get it. So,
and I mean, like, I keep them. And so if you're running super late and you forget or stuff like that, just text me. 99% of the time I can just take a picture and send it. And then I usually toss them. But I do keep them and I do go through them.
Good to know. I did pick up the one that I got a 3 on my lengthening for my horse turning into a Bronco because I thought that was entertaining.
Yeah. I could see how that could be an entertaining test.
My standards.
I mean.
Okay. So Lee had some good questions too, and I wanted to get to her because Lee has a brain similar to mine where she's just like, she wants to know how all this stuff is happening and like how I love it. So we already hit on her first question. She said, how did you get started organizing? So we covered that already.
Wait, which Lee is this?
Lee Higby. She's
Cool.
amazing. Like she's so smart. She's like an engineer. I don't know. She's way smarter than me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she has smart people questions.
All right, let's go. I'm not sure I can answer them.
She said, how would someone else start to get involved with event organizing?
Call me. I mean, I don't know how it's, or like finding, like, I feel like a lot of the event organizers are very protective of their job and how to do their job. And I understand that because I get the same way. I don't want anybody taking my work. But for me, I am always happy to bring somebody in. I want people to know how to do what I'm doing and stuff like that. And when I was at the horse park, I've had quite a few interns work with me that are now in the horse show world. One of them works at WAC. And I think that basically the first step to learning how to do it is to just be involved, be a volunteer, learn how to coordinate the phases, be there on the day, like just a floater, honestly, is another good way to do it. A lot of the times I have room in my golf cart if I don't have like a dog or a boyfriend or Stacey Emery or somebody else in my golf cart, like ride around with me. Someone said, find a place that needs help, go volunteer. Yeah, seriously, learn every job. I can do every job at a horse show. Can I do them all really well? No, I'm terrible at running the start box on cross country because all I do is this the whole time. And then I'm off my 2 minutes and then I'm getting yelled at by Cindy Kurth. Like, so,
everybody's been yelled at by Cindy. Don't worry for something.
True. That's true. But just, learning every job is a really good way to do it.
Yeah. So she has another kind of good follow-up question, and you probably already answered this too in what you were saying earlier, but is there any training available for stuff like this? And conversely, should there be training? Because like you were saying, a lot of the organizers are starting to get up there in age. So what's the pipeline for the next generation of organizers?
I will say that 3 of the people on my team that are paid every single horse show and are in vital positions are people that started volunteering. And they showed up every time for every show. And then I was like, oh my God, I legitimately don't think I can run a horse show without them. And so I started paying them. And then I gave them really cool titles. And now they show up every horse show, and I will not run a show without them. So just literally being involved. There is like the event organizer's handbook or manual or something on the USEA page. You can read through that. That'll help.
Yeah.
But you gotta be in it. You gotta be in the moment.
Right.
So
So she's also said, what exactly does the organizer do? Do you hire designers yourself? Is there a committee? Like, how does this all work? How do you coordinate it all?
it's different with every single horse show and every single organization. There are plenty of horse shows, big horse shows, Millbrook and Tryon and stuff, where like there's different committees. There's a volunteer committee. There's a this committee. There's a that committee. I can't stand committees. I'm bad at them. I'm bad at organizing them, and I don't have committees. I have my people, and we're all one committee. And we bounce ideas off of each other. And I have so many group texts with my people, or they work at a different show and then they text me, oh, this is a really good idea I picked up at this show. And I'm like, oh, cool. Let's institute that at our next show. And so I don't even remember what the question was, but yeah.
She was asking, what do organizers do? And you're like, I don't know.
I don't even know. I do the licenses, contracts, invoices. I hire officials. I hire the course designer. I meet with the course designer. I'm the liaison between the course designer and the organization. I'm the liaison between the horse park and USEF, the horse park and FEI, the horse park and USEA. I don't know what I do.
You do everything.
Sometimes I forget to do things. It's happened many a time.
That's fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
So she also said, and I'm sure this varies by type, so feel free to tell us each category. How much does it really cost to run a horse trial, and are they actually profitable?
That totally depends on the show. Our FEI, 9 times out of 10, we lose money. We legitimately lose money. There is a red number at the bottom when we're done. The big shows for us, February and March, help pay for April. The pop shows help pay for the big shows. And the majority of the events around the country barely break even or lose money. If you're running, a small amount of horses, you're losing money or you're barely breaking even. So many of these event organizers don't get paid.
Right.
They do this because they love it. Area 3 is quite a different beast, obviously, because of the amount of entries that we run and stuff like that. But when I say that personnel costs are in the high tens of thousands of dollars, the high 5 figures, everybody here knows what that means.
Yeah.
Legitimately, like mid 5s for February and March show is what we're paying. And that's just for people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then the FEI, like you're looking at high 5s for people plus like $30,000 in prize money.
Yeah.
One jump to build now costs $1,500, $2,000 to build a jump, depending on the level. And obviously but it's about $800 for beginner novice up to about $1,500 to $2,000 for an advanced fence. And we build fences every year.
Right.
Wow. It's astronomical, the amount of money that's put into this stuff. Installing a well at the horse park was tens of thousands of dollars. The K lines that we have, tens of thousands of dollars. The man hours sitting on the tractor aerating the fields, the tractors, the batwing, the maintenance, the diesel, everything that goes into it. The setting of the jumps takes sometimes 10 days. That's you're paying, 2 or 3 builders,
right,
plus equipment. Even like the cross country stakes or the screws. I mean, the amount of money that goes into these things is astronomical.
Right.
And like our summer shows, we'll make some profit, but
Not much.
not enough. Yeah.
It
So
kind of makes sense why.
like Area 1, Area 5, Area
Yeah.
7, 8, like they do it because they love the sport.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because I came from Area 5 before this, and, you know, they've just unfortunately been losing events left and right over the past, 5-10 years, and it's easy to understand why. When you think about it like that, that's hard, because they're definitely not getting the numbers,
No.
to pay for that stuff.
No, they're not.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. She had one more question from Lee, and I think a lot of people would be interested to know this, because it's kind of this magical, mystical thing that happens. We put in our entry, everything goes through, yay. A couple weeks later, we get ride times, poof, magic. But what actually went on? Who does it? Is there software? Like, what are the logistics here between when you send your entry in and poof, ride times?
It is not magic.
Seems like it.
I promise. I do the schedule for all of the pop shows. Tracy Olesh helps me. And then her and I both do the summer shows. We refuse to touch the February, March, or April shows. We will not. Rick Dunkerton is a god.
Yeah.
And if you don't already like worship him with beer, you should. He really likes Corona. Rick is incredible. So entries come. So you submit your entry, and we have software that Rick and his IT guy developed themselves. Rick's paid for all of this software. Him and John, his IT guy, and basically it absorbs all of the entries. You can literally go in and click, download from event entries or download from X entries, and then you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you go make a coffee, and you make a bagel, and you come back, and there's like, oh, poof, some entries showed up. And then you have to go through and you have to see who's missing what. You have to check that to see whose USEA, USEF numbers have expired, horse, rider, owner, trainer, blah, blah, blah. And when you're going through 700 entries, because if you're running 650 horses, we processed about 715 entries. And so you have to check all of that. And then the week of the show, that list gets submitted to USEA and USEF. And then they come back to us and tell us who is qualified, who isn't qualified. And then we have to move people around. If they're not qualified, we have to get them into different divisions and different levels and all of that stuff. And the program that Rick has built is incredible because you can literally click by division and drag it and drop it into the schedule. Rick's program will also tell you who has conflicts, how much time people have between each ride and stuff like that. I used to organize shows on Excel.
No.
So,
No.
So when I tell you that Rick is a god and everybody should worship him, I mean it. The software honestly cut probably 10 hours out of ride times. But even still, it takes us a solid 2 or 3 days to finish the schedule for these big shows. And then it gets sent to me and Rick wants me to go through it and approve it and, double check things and put eyes on things. But we start doing the schedule about 2 weeks out, which is why when people are submitting their entries really late, we want to strangle you. That's another thing that really irritates me is when people call on Thursday and want ride times for Friday, Saturday. We get that every single show. And inevitably, we really do our best and try and get everybody in because we want people to come, right? Like we want people to be there. And for the sake of transparency, I get paid more for every entry over X amount of entries. So we're going to fit you in because I like paying my bills. Not always, because honestly, sometimes we can't. Like we're out of daylight. There's no room in the schedule. And that happens a lot at these big shows. We'll run out of daylight. But that's, I mean, the software is incredible, and USEA and USEF and the people that review all these entries and check qualifications are incredible. Hannah Dunkerton, she's no longer Hannah Dunkerton, Hannah Stalker, Rick's daughter, and Eve in the event entries office, and everybody else at event entries that helps, shuffling, you know, everything around. And I help some, and Tracy Olesh helps some. And, you know, I'm a Google Drive person. Nobody else likes Google Drive. So sometimes I really struggle with that. But it takes an entire team to get entries done and processed and ready to go.
Yeah. So what I heard was it's magic. That's basically
yes.
That just reaffirms my thought. I don't know. People do magic, and then I get right there.
Yeah. It is hours in front of a screen.
I believe it.
Looking over the same schedule 27,000 times.
When you think about like the logistics of all the different divisions, and then all the different people riding all the different horses and all the different phases, like that's insane.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I can believe that.
It's a lot.
Oh. All right, we're almost at the end of our hour, so we've got time for one more question. This is the one I've been saving because it's my favorite.
Is this one of Steph's questions?
Yeah, and you gave me
I'm nervous.
You gave me the perfect lead up when you said that Rick likes Corona if you're going to bribe him. So the question is, if we're trying to bribe Emily, what do we bring, send, provide to do that, or to apologize, or
I like words like thank you or I appreciate your help. That's really, really big for me because we do a lot of stuff and we don't get appreciated. And that's part of my whole, like, you know, 2-wing 3. Yeah. Say thank you. It makes me happy. Mm-hmm. I do a lot when people thank me and appreciate me. Yeah. I also like wine. I like
white or red?
Both. But if it's a white, I like a good Sauvignon from New Zealand.
That's specific. Thank you.
Yeah. If it's red, I like a good cab. And I don't really like a red wine blend. I like a cab, Merlot, some Malbecs, not a Pinot Noir fan. I also like socks. Socks are great. I love socks.
Tall socks, crew socks, short socks.
You know, I'm not that picky. Something I can wear in like my paddock boots would be great. Yeah. Ankle socks I have plenty of. I like certain ones. They have to be compression ankle socks. Anyway, I do think I have OCD. I've not been diagnosed, but
what? That's likely.
Yeah, wine and socks. Beer too. I like beer. I'm not a picky beer person. Okay. I'll drink no IPAs. But other than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're gonna bribe me, wine and socks is a really good way to do it.
Wine, socks, and thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Wine,
oh my God, you're amazing. And I go, yes, I am. Thank you so much for being. And I get all happy. I'm like a little happy emoji. I'm like,
That's perfect. You're easy to please. I mean,
I am. It's that easy.
Perfect.
Like I tell my boyfriend, I'm like, I want to be pet and I want to be fed. And that's it. That's all I need.
I get that. I also would like to be fed, but I don't want to be petted. So
I like to be petted.
I would like to be left in isolation and given food. That's
yeah. Are you on here?
Put me in a room by myself, feed me food under the door. Yeah. All right. So we're at the end of our hour. So I feel like we could keep going. Like I feel like we barely touched on this, but
me too.
At the same time, my brain is a little overwhelmed. So I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. So all right. So we'll leave it for this time, and maybe we can revisit at another point when I've recovered from my brain being on fire. I really, really appreciate you coming on and kind of giving us a little bit of behind the scenes of what all it takes and how we can help make it a little bit better. So hopefully everybody took some notes and knows where to buy the right wine. So
yes, that's key.
That's key. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.